What's up, Mets and overall baseball fans? Welcome back to the channel. Folks, I am juiced up. I am pumped up. We got some fairly breaking news, rather, that came out earlier today. And before we get into it all I ask is if you're new to the channel, don't hesitate from smashing that like and subscribe button. Help us get to 20K subs for our next short-term goal, where you will see us covering everything you need to know about the Metropolitans all off-season long. And also have to let you guys know that today's show is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is your #1 source for all your sports betting needs, so make sure you sign up at betonline.ag for your 50% off welcome bonus by using the promo code Bleav at BLEAV. BetOnline, it's where the games begin. And now, folks, let's let the show begin, because as you see here, Mike Puma came out with an article earlier this morning that states that he sat down, had an interview with, yes, Mark Canha, outfielder for the Amazons, and Mark Canha shared some really key insight regarding all the Mets' current pending free agents, headlined by Jacob deGrom. But before we get into Jake, I do want to make note that Mark Canha came out and expressed how much he's loved New York. That's great to see. He wants to stay. He's, of course, on deal for another year at least of his contract, which is great to see. I don't expect Mark Canha to go anywhere. I'll be fairly surprised if that happens. But he spoke not only about Jacob deGrom, but regarding Chris Bassitt, who was on the Chris Rose rotation earlier today, represented by John Boy Media. And he basically came out, and without officially saying it, it was pretty obvious that he is, in fact, going to decline his mutual option. He's going to elect free agency. We all knew that by now, but Chris Bassitt is someone that Mark Canha may note he expects to return to Queens. In his humble opinion, he thinks that, especially in himself, and that being a Mark Canha, they both had a similar experience going from a small market club like Oakland to coming to a big market club like the Mets, and they loved every second of it. So as long as the Mets have the desire to bring Chris Bassitt back, and I truly believe that they do, higher than, say, even a Taijuan Walker and some others to a degree, given their current contract status and what their demands are going to become this offseason, there's a very solid chance that Chris Bassitt will, in fact, return to the Amazons, not just only according to Mark Canha, according to my opinion, but because of the opinions to many. He also did come out and talk about, yes, that being in Jacob deGrom. That's why we're discussing him today, folks. And he came out and flat out said the following, that, yes, Jacob deGrom spoke to me and said he wants to return to the Mets. And why is this a big deal? Look, this is a Jacob deGrom that has said endless times over the years that he would like to return to Queens, like stay in Queens, potentially for his entire career. But with all of these rumors and turmoil going on throughout the offseason, I mean, I literally just did a video on 5 Mets who won't return next year, and I had Jacob deGrom headline in that video only because of the fact that we do not know the likelihood of Jacob deGrom returning, not only because he's looking for a brand new contract, being the highest paid pitcher in baseball, and rightfully so, but more so, does he have a desire to actually stay in Queens, or is this something where he prefers to go elsewhere to maybe his childhood favorite team in the Atlanta Braves, which I do not want to get into that. I don't want to have my heart break here on a live show in the future of this offseason, or potentially elsewhere. Well, according to Mark Canha, again, this is really great to hear, because we haven't heard much about Jake throughout the year. All we heard was his first presser to start the year was that, yes, he's going to opt out of his deal, which we all expected. But outside of that, we haven't heard too much throughout the regular season. He's been pretty transparent in showing, rather, his interest in returning to the Mets. So to hear Mark Canha, not a normal beat reporter, not a rumor or anything like that, to hear from Mark Canha's mouth himself say that, yes, I've spoken to Jake, and Jake does, in fact, want to return to Queens, is the best thing possible to hear for us Mets fans that have the desire of wanting to see the best pitcher in baseball, arguably, for multiple years on end, aside from his injuries, return to Queens and potentially finish his career in New York. Now, I know there's a lot of conflicting opinions regarding Jacob deGrom on if you want to bring him back or not. I respect everyone's, but mine has always been, if you can bring him back and it isn't a huge detriment to the lack of success the Mets can potentially have because of how big his contract is going to be. We know Steve Cohen is thankfully that one owner who can bring Jake back and still put out a really strong roster. Then I want Jake to return. I mean, there's no denying that. As long as this guy can stay healthy, you lock him up to a new deal, he's going to be the highest paid pitcher in baseball. And should he stay healthy, again, that's always the biggest question mark, you're looking at a fully healthy Jacob deGrom, who, again, finally is going to have a normal offseason, a normal spring. He was looking well last year, but again, last year, let's keep in mind, he didn't pitch at all in the second half of the 2021 campaign. And then in the offseason, he was looking good. And then right before the season began, you saw there in spring, or right after, he was shut down for multiple months dealing with an ailment. So as long as that isn't the case, a healthy Jacob deGrom through the normal training that spring brings and the offseason, you're looking at a lot of great potential to headline the Mets rotation once again with Max Scherzer and Chris Bassitt. And speaking of those two fellow great pitchers, Mark Canha did make note that he loves his relationship, this being in Jacob deGrom, with Scherzer and with Bassitt, and that's definitely something that he imagines that he would like to run back with yet again. And again, I'm not surprised that Jacob deGrom wants to return, as I am just excited that we're hearing this from a fellow Met himself out of his mouth. It's not like we're just hearing this again from some schmuck, including myself, just assuming, right, that, oh, Jacob deGrom definitely wants to return. For me, when I broke down on my top 5 video, I openly said I feel if Jake parts, it's not going to be because of a monetary issue, because we all know Steve Cohen's going to shell out the bag for him, but more so will be his desire to go elsewhere. Now, if these opinions are different, or maybe they were more inflated than we expected, because let's not forget the first schmuck to come out with that report mid-season regarding Jacob deGrom potentially having an interest to go to the Atlanta Braves is Buster Only, that same schmuck. And I know I keep saying my schmuck shirt, I should have it on me. Make sure to check it out, shop.bleav.com if you want yours, even though I don't have it on. Buster Only has never said anything positive about the New York Mets. He is literally Andy Martino, but even to a higher degree, you could argue, because he's not even working for a Mets-centered program like SNY. He's working for ESPN, and anytime that he can have the chance to bash on the Mets and be a complete hypocrite, that is him. He's going to go out and do just that. So those rumors really start to spiral with Buster mid-season to get under the skin of Mets fans. So if we push that aside, you can look and say, oh yeah, maybe that truly was overblown the way that I feel it was. But I also have to let you guys all know that another piece came out today, this time from Jon Heyman of the New York Post, breaking down, according to experts, we're breaking down all the predictions for the offseason for the top free agents. And as you see here, for the Mets top free agents, these are the potential contracts that we are looking with Jacob deGrom, 5 years, $125 million. Edwin Diaz, 5 years, $105 million. Chris Bassitt, 3 years, $66 million. Taijuan Walker, 5 years, $70 million. Brandon Nimmo, 7 years, easily over $100 million. And for me, my raw reaction to that is the only one that really surprises me is Brandon Nimmo. We've heard rumblings about him going to a 7-year deal. We've seen rumblings already with Colorado Rockies potentially wanting to offer him a $5 million deal. But for the Mets, do they want to commit 7 years of Brandon Nimmo? I think that's a real big question mark. They know he's a top priority. We discussed it in yesterday's live stream. Make sure to check it out if you haven't already, folks, breaking out all the latest news and rumors. But this report came out today, 2 reports rather, that I just had to shell out and share my raw reactions on. These contracts, these predictions, are all speculation. For all we know, they could be drastically different. They're in the ballpark for sure. And for Brandon, I would be a little surprised if the Mets go past 6 years personally for him. Hopefully they can get him on a little bit of a discount. I think 5 years is a perfect deal for the Mets. But for Brandon, finally hitting the open market after having a strong 2022 campaign and being healthy for the majority of the year, not missing much time, played over 150 games, he's going to be looking for the best long-term deal possible, right? So all the right to him. Mark Canha did make note that he doesn't really have much to say on the fronts of Brandon Nimmo and Edwin Diaz, but he of course hopes that they return the same way that he hopes that Bassitt, deGrom, everyone that is a current Mets free agent does in fact return. And Adam Ottavino was on a predicted deal for 2 years, over $20 million. Are the Mets going to bring him back at that cost of over $10 million per year? I'm not sure, but there is a even interest between Adam Ottavino returning, growing up a New York kid, a Mets fan, and the Mets bringing him back because he was pretty much spectacular in that setup role to pave the way for Diaz in the 9th all 2022 season. So Mets fans, I gotta know, what's your raw reactions in the comments below about Jacob deGrom actually showing a willingness to return to Queens from, again, Mark Canha, his teammate himself. The reason why I'm so pumped and excited about this is, while again, this can only mean so much. We'll see what the offseason brings. We'll see if the Mets will go to the money that, of course, that the Jacob deGrom is looking for. Rightfully so. Jake felt slighted by the Wilpons, even though it was a big deal at the time, was still an underpay for him. He sees what Garrett Cole's gone since then, right? And he doesn't deserve it. He sees what Max Scherzer has gone since then, and Max didn't show up when the Mets need him most. Jacob deGrom, rightfully so, deserves a big payday as the highest paid pitcher of baseball. Will the Mets make that happen? Will this now be a monetary issue? I'm not sure, but I'm really excited to see what the offseason is going to bring, because we have a lot of content coming out as soon as next week at the time recording this, once the World Series concludes. But Mets fans, let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think that these type of comments are going to make you feel better about Jake returning? If you're in favor of Jake, if you're against Jake, let me know why in the comments below. Again, I understand everyone's opinions, but no less, thank you guys so much for watching. And if you found yourself enjoying this this kind of Mets content and you want to see more great Mets content like this, don't hesitate from smashing that like and subscribe button, sharing this video with your friends, on the notification bell, all those great things. Thank you guys all so much for your continued support. I'll see you all again real soon. Let's go Mets, baby.